and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson. Yes, hello, welcome to the Spirit and Wellness Show. My name is Harry Wilkinson, and this is the show where we take a look at the days and weeks events, happenings in the world around us, politics, technology, education, international news, everything that we hear about during the course of our week, everything we may interact with through social media or through the new technologies or the 24-hour news cycle, whatever it may be. And we take a step back and we look at it from a higher perspective. So from a higher perspective, we are able to reframe what we are experiencing or what we think we are experiencing with an understanding of how we are creating the world around us and what these things mean for us. They are all ways that we have, if we use them properly, to remember the truth of who and what we are, our oneness. So, at one level, while it may appear that the world is chaotic, that things are going off the rails perhaps, those are appearances, and those are not the truth. So taking that step back, actually it's a step back, but it's also going inward. For instance, if there's a news story that you hear, something that you come across that troubles you and begins to bring up feelings of discomfort, well, you can do a number of different things. You can ignore it for as long as you possibly can. You can kind of push it aside, don't give it any attention. Or you can go into those feelings, and as they arise, and as they reach a peak, if you will, you can remember the truth. You can deny that this situation, these feelings, have any power over you. You can remember that they are something you've created. Something you've created to allow you to experience something, and ultimately to bring you back to a remembrance of the truth of who and what you are, which is unlimited, which is oneness, which is a powerful creator on a metaphysical level. And that's the value of these things. That's the value of being able to go into those kinds of feelings, those kinds of stories, and recognize our connection. Recognize that at a level that I'll call metaphysical level, for want of a better word, you might also call it, another term I use is divine mind, but we are creating all that we are experiencing, and we are creating it in a way that is like the best analogy that I can think of, and the one that I usually give, is that of a hologram or a virtual reality game in which you are experiencing these things and you're seeing these things and they're happening, but they're not really happening. So you are getting an experience from it, but it is not actually the truth of who you are, or what is really going on in the world, or what is really out there. And that's the best analogy I can give. So we're going to talk more about consciousness this week. Been off for the past couple of weeks, but now we're back. Now that Labor Day has passed, and well, we're headed toward the fall season, which is a busy season for a lot of people. Lots of things going on. Of course, there's back to school for kids and some adults as well. Teachers and parents are all sort of involved in that whole process of returning to sort of a normal routine. And other people coming back from vacations and hunkering down for a busy autumn. It's an important time of year. I mean, Labor Day sort of signals the unofficial end of summer and the beginning of the approach to the autumn solstice, or the autumn equinox, excuse me. And though it's not often thought of as a special time of year, like the beginning of the year, New Year's, or even spring, the beginning of spring, it is a turning point in the year. And lots of things happen during this year. For instance, this is Rosh Hashanah for Jewish people, and in their religious belief system, it is a time for celebrating the beginning of a new year. It's the Jewish New Year. And for Muslim followers, it's also a new year. So it's very interesting that this really is sort of the start of a new year in ancient belief systems. It's certainly the start of a new year. If you're a school teacher, or if you're going to school, it's the start of a new year. So it's sort of an unofficial new year, and perhaps time to take stock of what's been going on and prepare for new challenges and things of that nature. So shalom to my Jewish friends, and also Happy New Year to Muslim friends. And let's make sure that we can make this the start of a great year. And we'll have some tips to sort of help you along if things are getting a little frantic, which they can do around this time of year. It's a very busy time of year, as I said, as we're getting back into the swing of things. So sometimes it's important to take some time for self-care, for things like meditation, to think about, the things that you are doing for your health. Perhaps your exercise regimen, perhaps things that you eat. Boosting your immune system is important, because as we get towards the fall, we are bombarded with allergies, and cold season is right around the corner. So you can begin thinking about what you might like to change in your diet to help you keep your immune system, in tip-top condition. So we'll take some tips on those things, and give you some things that you might be able to use in your diet to build you up. But let's go ahead and sort of review where we've been in our discussion of consciousness. Actually, we've been talking about the rise of exploration into the use of psychedelics and psychedelic research that has been happening beginning, well, they seem to pinpoint around 2006 is when it began to they began to do more use of scientific experiments on using these drugs for curing things, everything from alcohol to alcoholism to other illnesses, helping people who have fatal diseases to sort of reconcile themselves to their coming death. How it can help obsessive compulsive disorder, autism, depression. But interestingly enough, and we're going to talk about this today, is the fact that the idea of changing your consciousness for mystical reasons or spiritual reasons hasn't been researched very much, but it's beginning to. So we want to talk about that. And we want to talk about consciousness because the fact of the matter is, and of course the title of today's show is What is Consciousness? The fact is, scientists don't really know what consciousness is. And they're basically, if you want to bottom line it, there's two ways of exploring this. One way is through the scientific method, and with the development of neurotechnology and neuro research and brain research, there's some exploration of how does the brain make one aware, make one conscious. But while there are some understandings of what the brain does in consciousness and different states of consciousness, there still is no answer as to what consciousness really is. So for I guess the technical definition, let's look that up here. Just a definite sort of a dictionary sort of definition is the state or quality of awareness, or of being aware of an external object or something within oneself. It's also been described as sentience, subjectivity, experience, the ability to experience or to feel, wakefulness. Also described as a sense of selfhood or soul. And so through neuroscience and neuropsychology and cognitive science, there's been research that's been done in how our brains do all of this stuff and how it affects us. The other way, of course, the older way, is through, for lack of a better word, philosophy of consciousness, or spiritual or mystical approach to it. So recently, in research for in quantum physics, has uncovered the concept that consciousness, as the primary aspect of it,